we hear about depression a lot, right? Nowadays on social media, depression is really prevalent. People are starting to care more about depression. Would you say depression is more of a choice or like an actual disease or sickness?
Me, I think it's a gray line. I think in the past, it's like depression is real. Depression is where it actually affects your mental state of mind. But as time progresses, where we start to have this whole wave of we gotta take care of our mental status, we gotta nurture our brains, we gotta really care for our depression.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets to a point where it's like now we're kind of WebMDing our shit.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're WebMDing our shit, you've been there, right? Where you
searching
look up something on WebMD,
like,
and then it's placebo.
Yeah,
it's placebo at that point. You think you have it, but you actually don't have it.
Yeah.
And especially when we're in a culture where you're constantly reinforcing depression and saying depression is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're fucking reinforcing that and promoting that awareness all the time, people are actually going to start thinking it's like a massive WebMD. It's like COVID,
He's like, oh.
but for depression. It's like this shit is spreading everywhere, bro. And
Everyone's depressed nowadays, huh?
And then it's like, just because one person really had depression and he started spreading this crap like, oh, depression's a real thing, suicide awareness.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, we're not saying that like depression is not a real thing. I'm just saying one aspect of it. So stay tuned. Don't click out and don't start commenting hateful shit. Yeah. But I'm just saying one aspect of it. One aspect is this new wave of just like modern society always reinforcing like depression and saying that we should nurture our brains, blah, blah, blah. I think because of this, it's starting to like propagate more and more to everyone. And people are starting to think that they have it when they actually don't.
Because there's like, I feel like there is a difference between being like clinically depressed, where like you're long term or chronically depressed, compared to just like moments of sadness or moments of just like down, of feeling down, you know?
Yeah. We have Gen Z friends, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like, wait, are you Gen Z? I forget.
I'm like in between like millennial and Gen Z, like right at the cutoff.
Oh, okay. So that's when the cancer starts. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like our Gen Z friends, a lot of them are just depressed, right?
Yeah.
A lot of them, they say they have depression, actually.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if they're actually depressed, but they're constantly in this moping stage. And even friends that are not our mutual friends, but my other Gen Z friends, I see that they have the same issues as these Gen Z mutual friends that we have. And they're always just bitching and complaining about like life sucking and all this crap. And their excuse is that because they're kind of in that phase where they graduated during COVID, and then that's when introversion started happening, because they should have been at the prime of their school, right? Because when they're seniors, that's like kind of like your prime. But then for them to be seniors and that they have to spend it at home and not have that experience, it takes a blow to their mental state of mind, right?
I would agree.
But I think because of that, it's starting to propagate to all these Gen Zers that, oh shit, it's okay to be depressed. It's okay that we have depression. We have depression, blah, blah, blah. And that's the whole culture. So if, say, for example, we're in a culture where we're in a world where everyone's saying it's good to not have titties. So everyone starts like slicing their nipples off, right?
Like the LBGQTQ? No,
that's not even LGBT. I don't know, man. I'm just
transgender, like gender.
I'm just giving some random bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay. Say for example, we're in a society where everyone started saying it's okay to be a pedophile. It's okay for a 16-year-old to date like, I don't know,
a 40-year-old. Yeah.
And so you naturally start getting influence, right? So I think that influence is starting to impact the world, or Gen Zs, where they think that they have depression. But in regards to clinically being depressed, how about you elaborate a little bit on that?
I feel like nowadays, like Gen Z, especially people who graduated during the pandemic and stuff, maybe their senior year or wasn't that good, or maybe they were just sad in that period of time. But being like constantly reinforced that they're kind of depressed by social media, or like depression's real, we should have more mental awareness and stuff like that. I think it slowly started to kind of convince them that they're more depressed than they really are, to a point where they kind of are forcing themselves, or kind of unconsciously kind of pushing themselves to be more depressed than they really are.
So you think that they could actually be depressed, like they're actually really clinically depressed?
I feel like they they might be a little bit sad, but in terms of being clinically depressed, I would say they're kind of pushing themselves more, kind of the placebo effect, where they're pushing themselves to kind of believe more in the fact that they're depressed when they really aren't super depressed, where they actually can take initiative and change some of their like thought processes and how they view things.
Yeah, I agree with that, because you kind of end up in this never-ending spiral, right? Where you're thinking that I don't have enough confidence, the world fucking sucks, the job market sucks, I can't get a job, blah, blah, blah. And then you're constantly in this spiral where you're like, fuck, I'm so sad I can't get a job. I'm so sad that my boyfriend, girlfriend left me. And then why I say a spiral is that you're sad about this, and then you continue to dig yourself a deeper hole. And you continue to just mope, and you think that it's okay to fucking mope. And you think it's not okay to just go out and fucking work harder,
or do something about it,
or go out, not even go out, but like stay home and do some research on how to get a fucking job, instead of just crying all day and going out with your friends and just pretending like, oh, my life's gonna be better if I just go out with my friends and just like run away from my fucking problems. But honestly, you don't need to fucking run away from your problems. You need to work on your problems. And that's the thing about this, me saying depression is actually a choice. It could be actually a choice.
I agree.
I'm not talking about actually clinically depressed people
out there, yeah.
But what I'm talking about, what I'm very focused on, is the modern generation, where we think that it's okay to just bitch and complain and not do anything about our current status, and where we need to really take matters into our own hands and really work on ourselves. Rather, it's now accepted, it's now normal for us to just bitch and moan all day and take it up the fucking ass, instead of just, right?
Yeah, like some of these problems are so easily fixable, but they just sit around and dig themselves a deeper hole. And I feel like now with just a lot of the exposure to mental awareness and stuff, people feel like, oh, I need a therapist for this, for that, for like after a breakup, I need a therapist to talk to and stuff. But in reality, they just need to like maybe take a step back, maybe work on themselves, maybe take a different perspective on things. But now it's so like easy for them to just dig themselves into a deep hole, saying that, oh, I'm depressed. You know, the social media, everything on social media says, oh, I have depression, you know, I should see a therapist to talk my problems out. But like at the end of the day, I feel like some things a therapist can't fix, you have to fix by yourself, type of thing, you know? Like,
Yeah,
they
for
can
sure.
only help you so far.
So Daily, I think why you want to talk about this video is because, or why you want to talk about this topic in this video, is because you wanted to get at the current society, right? You're not talking about like the past, where clinically being depressed is a real issue.
Yeah.
Well, this is actually a real issue
issue,
right now.
but
We're talking about like how this affects, how this is like propaganda for the whole Gen Zs or modern generation, right? It is affecting people because now they think they actually have this issue.
And
But-
they're like now like taking medication, or like requesting medication from therapists and stuff, saying, I'm clinically depressed, like give me some of these like Prozacs, like some stuff like this to help me through my depression, you know? And it's like gotten to a point where they're kind of just, it's turned into like a drug abuse in some sort
Yeah,
of way.
and you know, that's the funny thing, because I've seen people who take these types of antidepressants, and they become so reliant on it to a point that when they stop taking it, they're in a mental state where it's a lot worse than if they never took it, right? It's kind of like nasal steroids because I have really bad allergies. Okay, so nasal steroids, if you use it too much, it starts to not have an effect. But when you start not taking it, then you're just like, fuck, like I rely on this so much that I need to go back to it. So it starts to not have an effect. And then, for example, when I was taking like Nasonex, I stopped taking it. But then when I stopped taking it, it was a lot worse. My allergies got a lot worse than like before I started taking it.
Because the tolerance kind of built up.
Yeah, the tolerance built up, and then your body kind of relies a lot more on that medication. So with this whole antidepressant shit, I honestly think that you might be fucking up your brains a little bit. I don't know how antidepressants work too much, but I would imagine you're pumping a little bit of serotonin into your mind, right?
Yeah, some like dopamine or something to give you some sort of relief when like I feel like your mental state was already like not kind of to a point of really depressed.
It's kind of like ecstasy, right? Like a lot of these people in LA, they roll like all this crap, right? So most of our viewers are going to be in LA. So I'm pretty sure if you're watching this right now, you probably rolled one time in your life before, because LA raves are like fucking crazy, right? So everyone has been to a rave at least once. And it's kind of like the similar concept where when you roll, you're pumping so much serotonin into your brain. And then once you're off of it, you're not that happy anymore. You have a come down, right? Yeah. And then once you have a come down, you're like, shit, I got to take something to make me happy because I'm not happy. And then, so that's how you have like these etards, because they're constantly, fuck, I'm not happy. I'm just going to fucking roll. And we've seen so many of these etards when we were in college because we were frat boys, right? And then we see like these etards that are just like not happy, or they finish like a final and they're like, shit, yeah, I'm so happy. I've been so stressed out. And their stress tolerance has gone down the drain because they're like, I can reward myself with an ecstasy pill now. I can reward myself taking this, and even though it'll fuck up my serotonin, and they know it will, they still take it just as like a short escape. But your brain is going like this. Your brain, in terms of serotonin, is going like this. It went down a little bit when you took fucking ecstasy. Actually, when you took ecstasy, it went up. Then, like, after, you have to come down, so it starts going down a lot. But then you start getting normal when you stop not taking it. And then if you take it again, it'll spike up. But then you'll have a bigger come down that you'll drop down. And then sometimes you might keep having this, like, zigzag kind of downtrending pattern, right, of serotonin. Unstable. And then your stabilization levels would be like over here, down here now. You started off here, your normal state of mind, where you never took anything in your life, no ecstasy. But then you went all the way like this, like down here now. And so now you're like, shit, now I rely on ecstasy to live. And so I've seen so many of these etards where they kept taking it, and then they're always depressed, and then they just keep fucking taking it more and more, and then they think that it's gonna save them from their depression. But then, at the end of all this, they realize, dude, my brain is really fucked up. Like, my serotonin level is like all the way down here, and then it's all the way down here to a point of no return. And then to really recover, they really have to stop taking ecstasy for like a long time. I think that their brain cells got fucked up. So but I'm not serotonin is probably recoverable.
Okay, yeah, I was about to ask that.
Yeah,
it's probably recoverable.
Brain cells is like, that's something that might not be able to recover fully. That's most likely something you can't recover fully. But like in terms of serotonin, yeah, you could definitely probably come back from it. I don't know if that's a gray area. I don't know. But going back to what I was saying is that like the same thing with antidepressants. When you're taking that, I think you're kind of that same downtrend. And so when you have depression as a choice now, with like it being like a WebMD, like a massive WebMD affecting everyone, this is very critical, because once you start taking antidepressants, it acts in a sense like ecstasy. I've seen that happen so many fucking times with my ex-girlfriend who was fucking clinically depressed, or she said she was clinically depressed.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever she would take antidepressants, she would be happy for a bit, but then once she gets off of it, it's so bad.
Oh,
Big
shit.
come down.
Uh-huh.
And then, it's not even just that ex-girlfriend. Like a couple other girls that I dated also had this issue. Even like people that were not my girlfriends, they had this issue as well.
Would you say depression is more prevalent in males or females?
That's a good point.
Because I understand that like females are a little bit more emotional, but I would, to what extent?
Yeah, for sure.
You know.
You know, it's funny because like before I started watching podcasts, and actually watching podcasts was a little bit of a reason why I wanted to get into making a podcast of my own. I thought that women were more clinically depressed than men, but as I watched more of these podcasts, they started citing a lot of references that men are more clinically depressed, and the suicide rate for men is a lot higher than women. And I think that goes back to our previous video about talking about the men, how they get disrespected, and if they can cheat or not because of that. And I think in that we talked about a man has a lot more responsibilities than a woman, especially because a man born into this world comes from nothing. Okay, you're born into this world, you have nothing as a man. You have to build your status. It doesn't even matter if your parents are rich or whatever bullshit. Like a man still has to build his status up. Yeah. He has to build his wealth. He has to take over his parents' company if he really is a spoiled little kid. But he has to build his status up. And then a woman can be born looking really good, and then she has pretty much a lot of status like that. Like, so in terms of status, it's different for a man versus a woman. So I think a lot of responsibilities fall onto a man because of this, because he has to build a lot of status. He has more pressure to survive. And because of this, I think that affects how the suicide rate is a lot worse for a man.
And like their mental health, and basically because with all the stress and stuff, I feel like men are a little bit more prone to like feeling like a little bit sad or depressed at times, because they have more riding on their shoulder than women do. You know, like they have to build up their status, an empire, and then plus they have to take care of maybe their family or even their own family in the future. You know, it's just I feel like a lot of men basically are,
and honestly, like women, they could actually like have to build up that responsibility as well, right? Because now we're falling into more of like a path of equality where women have to work. So traditional gender roles where women stays at home and cooks and cleans and all that crap, I think it's starting to fade, which I totally understand, right? Because, and I think we can make a video on that another day, but I think because we're starting to fall down this path where women are more equal men, it comes out to a point where I also start to see a lot of women, they have more responsibilities than men, because there's a lot of bum ass men out there that are not doing shit. I'm not saying
where women kind of like
they take the
they wear the pants in the relationship.
They wear the pants, and they provide. So it's not safe to say that men are always feeling like the worst, right? In certain cases where a woman has to wear the pants, has to protect and provide, then you know that's a lot of stress on her part. So I guess we're speaking more on people who protect and provide more in the relationship. I mean, if we're talking about gays now, you got two males. Oh my god, totally complex now. Yeah, totally complex. I don't even know how that shit would work. We need to have probably a gay guy or a gay woman come onto our channel and
so
explain a little bit.
This,
because that would be a totally how
different
does that
dynamic
work now?
Yeah, it's totally,
I mean, on dates, right? Would the guy who acts more like a girl not pay?
Would it be in terms of tops and bottoms, or?
Dude, my head hurts now. I don't know.
But I understand your point where basically nowadays in this generation, I feel like depression like is kind of more equal now, or split among men and women, where before.
But statistically, it's not.
Oh yeah.
Still statistically, it's not, right? I mean, I think that's what you've seen too before, right?
Yeah. just the suicide rates of men compared to women are still statistically higher.
Yeah, but I think as we start to fall down a path of more equality throughout the world, where women are starting to become really actually boss bitches, where they go like, I need to strive for more. I need to fucking, and they actually do one day get to a man's level in terms of finances, where they start to make just as much as a man does, the median amount, statistically, right? The overall population. Then I think that it could start having a play where women would be just as having as suicidal thoughts or depressed, or the suicide rate would go higher for women. I think when it comes down to that. But anyways, in terms of this, I think we're good for today. It's already 20 minutes. So I just want to say thank you for anyone who stuck around for watching the Controvert podcast. And let us know in the comments below if you think depression is a choice. I mean, it is a choice. For the most part, it is a choice right now in this modern generation. But let us know in the comments below if you think depression being a choice is starting to become a very profligated issue in the society that we live in today. We are not denying that clinically depressed people who are actually depressed, is an issue. But we are talking about, is your depression, is it actually real? If there's this whole wave of like depression that's going on.
Where's the line drawn from like really clinically depressed people and people who are self-diagnosing themselves on like WebMD, saying that they're clinically depressed?
I mean, 10 years ago, man, I don't think I've seen this many people saying they were depressed.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if COVID could be a factor that is like, yeah, I'm depressed because of COVID. But honestly, I feel like...
Or could American as a whole society be contributing to the rise in depression?
I feel like it's the propaganda. But let us know in the comments below what you think. Is it a choice? Is it actually everyone's depressed because they have a good reason to? But let us know in your comments below. See you guys next time.
Later.